Today's lesson will focus on lesson 9.3, area of composite figures. Good connection to what we've just been doing. We just got done finding the area of a circle, which is finding the radius, and then using the area formula, which was radius squared times pi, and then that will give you the space inside. So again, area means space inside. Today we're going to be using different shapes. We're going to be looking at a combination of shapes put together, and so it's a thinking activity. They want you to be able to think of the differences between, rectangle, square, triangle, trapezoid, etc., and you'll be applying these, to different questions. All right, so this is the first question here. They want to know, Aaron is plotting the shape of a garden on grid paper. It's an irregular shape that's perfect for his yard. Each square in the grid represents 1 meter. How many does he have here? And so there's a couple different ways you can do this. The whole idea is making it as simple as possible. So in terms of determining area, it's always good to look for shapes inside. I would suggest doing this. All right, that gives you a rectangle that's here, right? And then right below here, you'll see that if I cut it right in half, it's going to make it a little bit easier on top, because that first shape there you'll see is half of that rectangle, because I have half of it here and half of it here, so I can add it together. Then I have two more rectangles, which are actually squares now, on the inside, right? So I can just add them all together. All right, so let's do that. What do we have here? We have 3 across, 2 up. And again, that's the formula for area of a rectangle. It's 1/2 base times height, also known as length times width. So we have 3 times 2, that's 6. What do we have here? We have 4 and 4, so that's a perfect square, that's 16. So we have 2 amounts there. And then lastly, since we have half of our rectangle there, I could pretend that is full, correct? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Base times height is 2, and so that would be 8 total. So I'm going to add those 3 numbers together. I have 32 on the inside there. I have 8 up above, and then I have 6 down below. So I have a total of 40. 40 plus 6 is 46 square units. In this case, it's meters squared. All right, these are all the different area formulas now. You'll be seeing these in practice in just a second. All right, so again, area of a triangle, we just did that, right? We found the base times the height, and since it's half of it, that's where we get the 1/2. Square, rectangle, parallelogram, you'll see that in a second. And then trapezoid, a little bit messier, but those are the different pieces of that. 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. This is an example here of using that. Separate the figures into smaller figures, parallelogram and a trapezoid. So you can see how that was applied. They have the parallelogram there inside. We have the base times the height. There's your base, there's your height. And it's already incorporating half of the other side there, so that's why there's that formula. And then the trapezoid, the messier figure, of course, all of these different parts, base 1, base 2. So 7 and 10, you'll see that here, 7 and 10. And we'll practice in just a moment. So that's how you would do that. You would separate that shape into 2, you would add them together, and you get your total area. So let's look at these 2 examples. All right, so your turn. I'll give you guys a minute here to work on both of these. So we'll start with number 2. What do you see on the inside there? So we see a rectangle right inside, so we want to separate that out. First of our rectangle, now we take a look. Are we able to double it like we did before? That one has a base of 3, that one has a base of 2, so those are not equal, so we can't take 1 and times it by 2. We're going to have to find them separately. All right, so let's start with your rectangle first. And you can use this if you want, but hopefully you guys can do this in your head. All right, you're going to find length times width, the base times the height. Give you a moment to do it on your own, and then I'll walk through it with you. Alright, so starting with our rectangle, we want to put everything together. Our 8 is only going up until this point right there, so we have to add another 3 to it. Alright, so that's 8 plus 3, that's going to be 11 as my base, and then I go up by 4. So 11 times 4 is 44, so 44 square feet is on the inside there. And now I need to find my 2 triangles, and so that's half of this, right? So that would be 3 on the bottom, 3 across, so that's half of a square of 3 times 3, which is 9, so that's 9 divided by 2, so that's 4.5 for my bottom triangle. And then up above here, I have my triangle formula, which again is over here in case you have any questions. 1/2 base times height. So my base is 3, my height is 2, so 6 times 2 is 12, and I find half of it. Half of 12 is 6. I'm going to change the color, so we have 6 for that triangle. Alright, so I have 6 for my top triangle, I have my rectangle of 44, and then I have my bottom triangle of 4.5. I add those together. Alright, friendly number here, 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 4.5. Alright, so there's 4.5 carrying the one from before, so 54.5 square feet is the area of my left composite figure. Now let's take a look at number 3. We have that semicircle we've been looking at the last 2 days in area, so that's good practice. And so we should see our 2 shapes there, right? We have, since we have equal base and height, that's a square, and then we figure out the area of our triangle. What do we need to do? We need to find that radius again, and then we need to divide by 2, right, because we have half of it. So I'll give you guys a moment to do that. What's our radius there? Find your radius first. Okay, so we're starting with our square. 10 times 10 is 100. Now let's find our circle first. If it was full, that's 5 across, right? So area equals 5 times squared times pi. So we have 25 pi. And then we're going to have to divide that by 2, right? Because it's half of a circle, so that would be 12.5 pi. And then we would add that to 100. Alright, so for purposes of today, if you want to just leave it in that form, I'm completely fine with that. I'm just going to multiply it out here. 12.5 times 3.14. I have 39.25. Adding it to 100, so that we just put a 1 in front there in the hundreds place. And then we have meters squared. 139 and 25 100ths meters squared. Alright, next example. Alright, a banquet room is being carpeted. A floor plan of the room is shown at right. Each unit represents 1 yard. The carpet costs $23.50 per square yard. How much will it cost to carpet the room? So good practical real-world example here if you're ever going to do this. So the only difference here is, first of all, you have to find the area, and then once you have the area of units, you have to times it by the cost per square yard. If you were buying this in the store, you would know exactly what to do, or exactly how it's calculated. Alright, so I'll give you a moment to do that. You're going to find the area. So once again, we have 1, 2, 3 shapes. And so what do we have? We have a rectangle, we have a triangle, and now take a look over here. We have a parallelogram. So you can use that formula there. So let's start with our rectangle. So it's base times height. What do we have? We have 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be 24 units on the inside. Do our little triangle there. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's half of this triangle there. So it would be 1/2 base times height. So our base is 1, our height is 2, and it would be divided by 2. Alright, so that would be 1 unit. And then lastly here, alright, to use the parallelogram formula, we have area equals base times height, right? So our base would be this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our height would be 1, 2 there. So that would be 4 times 2, that is 8. So add our 3 numbers together, 24 plus 8 plus 1, so that's 33 square yards. But we're not done. Remember, we have to go back now, and we have to times it by our cost. Alright, so this is where our calculator is very helpful, right? 23.5 times 33. So $775.50. Just going to do that again just to check my work. 23.5 times 33. And there we are. Alright, so good practice for you guys here. Windows being replaced with tinted glass. A plan at the right shows how to design a window. Each unit length represents 1 foot. The glass costs $28 per square foot. So just like we did before, find the area first of your composite figure, and then we're going to use the units and times it by 28. So notice how we have 2 semicircles, right? So that would be the same as finding a full circle, so we don't have to divide by 2 there. So I'll give you guys a minute to do this on your own. Doing the rectangle first, and our second part is the circle. So area of a rectangle again, area equals base times height, length times width. What is my length? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times my height, my width, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 20 on the inside. And now to find my circle, which I have cut in 2 parts, but a full circle nonetheless. So area equals my radius, 1, 2 across, times pi. So that's 4 pi. So multiplying that out, 3.14. So it's 12.56. I'm going to add that back into my rectangle. So I have 32.56, adding those two together. Now I need to times that by 28. And I have $911.68. Just going to type that in one more time just to check it. 32.56 times 28. And there is my answer. That is how much it would cost. All right, let's take a look at this one here. All right, so guided practice. If you were to calculate the area there, what would you do? All right, so I'm not going to take time to wait for you to do it, but hopefully you guys can see it now. Let's cut it into our 3 different shapes. What do we have? We have our triangle, we have our rectangle, and then we have our parallelogram. All right, so we have these 3 parts, and then you would add all 3 of them together, and that is how you find the area there. Good one to do here, simple, right? Because we have 3 rectangles, or 2 rectangles and a square. So you're going to find the area of 3 each, and so this is, a strategy you guys learned in the past is to fill in all the different amounts. Give you guys a moment to do that. Best thing to do is to label all sides first and then calculate areas. Since they're all rectangles, its area equals length times width, base times height. So let's find that amount. Do we know that? Opposite sides of a rectangle, right? So that's 12, which would also mean this is 12. And now you guys can see that this distance across is 20. So that's 12. That has to be 8. That's also there. So it's just a matter now of using our pieces. We have 12 across, and then we have 9 up. So we have 12 times 9. So that's 108. And notice how this is an equal rectangle. There's 9 going up and down. I see that from over there. So again, 9 times 12. So that would be adding another one of those. And then lastly, we have our rectangle there. It is a rectangle, sorry, not a square. So 9 times 8 is 72. So we add 72 here. So we add these 3 together. There's 16 plus 2 more. That's 18. That's 1, carry the 1, 7, 8, 288. So 288 centimeters squared. All right, last example here. This is another good one. You'll see that we have a double shape here, and we have a parallelogram on the bottom. On the top, again, is our messy trapezoid, and we have our formula now to do that, which will help. And this is another one now that we have to, after we find our area, we're going to have to times it by our cost, which is $2.25 per square foot. We can do this one now based off of our formula, right? Parallelogram, area equals base times height. What is my base? 1, 2, 3, 4. What is my height? Goes up 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 16 units inside of there. All right, so that's our first shape, and now we're going to use our trapezoid formula to find our other one. So 1/2 base times height. What do we have on the bottom? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our first base. What is our second base? Going across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we add those 2 together. We have 11. Now we need to find the height. The height is going up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the height. So we plug that into our formula. 5 times 11, that's 55. And we're going to take 1/2 of that. All right, so 55 times 0.5, that's 27.5. And I add these two together. 43.5, so that's the number of square feet that I have. Now I need to multiply that by my cost. And once I do that, I get $96.75. So that's how much he would be spending for these tiles. And just checking my work here. So once again, $43.25 times my cost, $225. $43 times 5 times 2.25. Oh, sorry, I don't know what I was multiplying by before. That's not what I get. I get $97.88 after rounding it to the right place. It's always good to do it multiple times. As you can see, sometimes simple mistakes happen, and there is my cost. Alright, so you guys are going to use the same strategies now. You have different word problems here. Pay attention to everything that's asked. Take a look at this one right away. You'll see that we have 3 different shapes that are inside there. We have a square, we have a triangle, and then we have to take a look at our shape there. So hopefully you guys see that right away. If that's my circle, right, what is that? That's cut into fourths. So I'm going to have to find my area, and then I'm going to have to divide it by 4 to get that answer. All right, down below here, a little bit different. They want you guys to plot it, all right, and then find the area based off of the squares on the inside, all right? So you would cut that into pieces like we've been doing. Take a look. It's a hexagon, so 6-sided figure there. Here we have rectangle and semicircle, so be careful again. There's our shape down below, and then this one's a little bit different here, and so it tells you that your shape is a square and a rectangle, or excuse me, a square and a triangle. All right, and it gives you the total area already. All right, so you're going to use the area, and they give you the triangle. All right, so they want you to back into what the square would be, and then the side of the square would be. All right, so make sure that you are using that square formula, which is whatever your side is here, right? It would be side times side, side squared. So a lot going on in that problem. All right, show your work on your worksheets, please, so I can check your work and give you credit for ones even if you get them wrong. Any questions, let me know. I'm happy to help.